I have the Honorable Will Furry. See, there he is right there. And this is going to be great. We're going to catch up with him and what he's been doing since he's been in office. How long has it been? It hasn't
Well,
been a
it's
year
been
yet,
since
has it?
November 22nd. I was sworn in, so we're about halfway through the year.
Well, we'll see how that goes. All right, Mark, you let me know when you're ready and we will just begin. Let me get my microphone set here. Okay.
You are now tuned in to Today with Pastor Jay on WNZF News Radio, where we discuss inspiring and informative news. And now here's your host, Pastor Jerlyn Denny.
Good morning, good morning. Wake up and good morning. And I am very excited about this show because I have my brother in Christ as my guest, my highly esteemed guest, blah, 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 blah. What do you want me to pick up at, Mark? It's on you. You don't want to have to edit it. Okay, he wants to start over. That way he ain't got to edit nothing.
I don't blame him. A lot of work.
You are now tuned in to Today with Pastor Jay on WNZF News Radio, where we discuss inspiring and informative news. And now here's your host, Pastor Jerlyn Denny.
Good morning and stretch. Oh, that feels so good. And I feel good because my highly esteemed guest is none other than my brother in Christ, the Honorable Will Furry, Flagler County Schools. I'm so excited. So before we even begin, Will, I have to ask you, how is the First Lady doing?
First Lady is doing well, and
Doesn't like that. I know.
she's adapting to this life, and but she's doing it with grace, and she's one of my biggest supporters.
So you're halfway through, the first year of your
Yeah,
first
that's
Flagler
correct.
County Schools, and that's been a little interesting. I mean, you've had some stuff going on. I must say, um, you're in the news a lot,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Mhm.
but it's, in my opinion, it's all good because all you have done, and I want to thank you. And I know when I say this, is not just for me. I'm saying this on behalf of several other people, the constituents in Flagler County. How you have represented us well. You've asked the questions that we've asked you, and you've made a blanket transparent policy when it comes from the Flagler County School Board and the rest of the citizens. And for that, I applaud you and I thank you so very much because that's a lot of weight to have on your shoulders. You have people calling you all the time, um, coming up to you in the grocery store and everywhere you go, and they have concerns, and you've been able to address those concerns honestly and openly. So I want to thank you for that. But how challenging has that been for you? Because everybody think, oh, this is about Will Furry. It is not the Will Furry show.
That's right. First of all, thank you for the encouragement. Words like that are just help you keep going. And yes, I have been mentioned in the media a lot, but you know, it's a little different when I'm just showing up for work, right? I'm just going there to do my job, and it's the community's uh, response when they write about what I'm doing, right? So, and we as elected officials are always available. We never really check out, whether we're out at a grocery store, like you said, or we're at dinner. We're always meeting constituents out there, and it's important to be available to the community. And I ran on transparency, and I try and bring transparency to everything we're doing at Flagler Schools, and we've been doing just that. And I will say that we've been going now for about 6 months as a new board, and we've had to tackle some very challenging decisions. But I will say overall, we all are working well together.
You want to talk about challenging decisions. The decision was made not to extend Kathy Middlestad's contract. She wasn't fired. The majority of the school board members said you thought about it, and each one of you individually cast your vote, and collectively the vote was not to extend a contract. You came under heat from that.
Yeah,
Um,
unfortunately, that's one where there were certain narratives out there. But I can tell you, as someone from the inside, every board member did their own independent evaluation, and they all came to their own conclusions, right? And ultimately, the will of the board was to not renew the superintendent's contract. And so, but I really do believe that everybody gave uh, Kathy Middlestat a fair uh, assessment and a fair shot. And but in the end, it was the direction to say, hey, it's time for a new leader for Flagler Schools.
I'm going to tell you, the interim superintendent, Lashaka, is doing an amazing job. I mean, you saw that just by the workshop on yesterday, how she conducted herself. Uh, she was extremely transparent. I didn't feel as though she was hiding anything, and it looked as though that things were running smoothly. Now, that's just from my perspective. You tell me. I mean, you're over there, you're watching, and you're sitting among your fellow board members. What do you think?
Yeah, Miss Moore was unanimously chosen by the board to serve as the interim superintendent. And although I had engaged her prior to that appointment, I will tell you that she is taking the role like a leader. And I was very impressed with how she led our meeting yesterday at our retreat. And I can see that she's getting right in there and to encourage our faculty to get this to kind of lay a platform for the new superintendent to inherit something that it's all set up so that they can hit the ground running on day one when they are appointed.
Last year around this time, your children were in a summer camp, and I recall one of your sons being bullied. That was something that you didn't really openly talk about, and we're not really going to address it today. But it's summertime. I just want to. Is there a difference happening this summer? I mean, because last summer adults were telling your son, "Hey, you should be ashamed of your dad who is running for school board." I mean, now you're on the school board. So what's it like this year?
Yeah, so that was an unfortunate incident, but we moved on from that. My son's very resilient, and I'm very proud of him. And this year, yeah, he did go to a different camp, and it was actually a camp called Word of Life Ministries, actually in Tampa. It's a week-long, amazing week fellowship with other uh, Christian boys and girls, and they do a lot of fun things like paintballing and mountain biking and wakeboarding, and then they just go in there and have some great worship time and really connect with God. And as one of the youth leaders at our church, where who sponsored this event, I see big change in these kids when they come back from a week long just building their relationship with Jesus.
Well, most people don't know this. I'm a recovering youth pastor.
I can
That's what I
sympathize with that one.
Yeah, I'm a recovering youth pastor, and I remember going to these different retreats and making it happen. The children do come back on fire and alive, and I've seen it in the life of my own family. But what's it like balancing your life? I mean, because you are a realtor. I mean, that's
Yep,
what you
yep.
do for a living.
Yes,
You're a
ma'am.
realtor. You have a wife. You do have a life. You have, your boys, your children, and school board. It's people say, oh, it's only a couple of hours a week, but you don't just give a couple of hours a week to this. This is a big deal for you.
Yeah, well, I really, looking back on this, when I first decided to run, I didn't really know exactly how much time it was going to take. It wasn't really about that. I was willing to do the job, whatever it took, right? But it is a lot more than I was expecting, but that's okay. But I will tell you that I have a lot more respect for elected leaders and the amount of time that they have to put in to serve the community. And this at sometimes is like carrying a second full-time job, but it really depends on the leader, because you can make this put very little effort in, but because you're accountable for your own actions, and your constituents are going to let you know if they're not happy with what you're doing. So you better start serving.
All right. Well, we've got to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You're listening today with Pastor Jay, and we're chatting with the Honorable Will Furry. Okay, guys, I see we've got some on social media. So if y'all want to type some questions in the chat, if you want to be live, and we'll see if we can get some response out of Mr. Furry here. If there's going to be some chat questions, we will see if you want to do that. If not, I have plenty over here to ask him. All right, Mark, I'm ready whenever you are. Welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay, and my highly esteemed guest is none other than Mr. Furry, Will Furry, the Honorable Will Furry. I keep saying that. He's probably going, oh, there we go. There we go. But you ran on transparency, Mr. Furry, and also parental rights. Now, that's a big deal because the legislature did some stuff this last legislative session when it comes to parental rights and expanding those rights, especially when it comes to talking about sexuality in the class. You know, it was something that was, if I'm not mistaken, was third grade and under. Now that has gone all the way through 12th grade. And what have your constituents been saying in relation to the new parental rights and the additional parental rights that's been going on?
Well, overwhelmingly, I think it's well received because at the end of the day, sexuality and those type of things are conversations to be had between a parent and a child. And before, school board members would have to deal with this through policy, right? And policy has worked well for a long time, but when you have people breaking policy, the consequences vary, right? But because of our great governor and our Speaker of the House, Paul Renner, and all the education bills that they were able to pass during this last session, brought a law, something with teeth, right, where there will be severe consequences when you cross these lines, and that's what you need if you want people to follow that guidance, because now there's real severe consequences if you start doing that type of thing.
I've been looking and watching, and I mean, there's a shortage of teachers all over. You know, Flagler County isn't an exception. But I've spoken with some of these teachers who retired early, and some of them are saying, what's happening in the school system and the things that they have to teach and all the hoops they have to jump through. A lot of them, our veteran teachers have given up on that. Are you starting to see new life in that and the policy and what's happening within Flagler County and how we're going to retain the teachers that we have and get additional teachers?
hmm Well, this has been a problem statewide, and I think it's just a cycle that we're going through right now, and we're working through. We actually had talks about this at our board meeting last night that we were looking to help fund our HR to do a little bit more for recruiting, right? And you just have to be a little more creative today because there's a lot of schools that are looking for teachers, and you have to put your best forward to tell them why you want them to work for you, right? So my goal though has always been to improve the learning environment, and I think that has to do with one, enforcing our discipline policies so that kids and teachers feel safe in the classroom and on campus.
There were a couple of things that did not go in your favor. One was we've got Flagler Schools is paying for a pool. I mean, really? Really? What's up with that?
Right. Well,
Talk about that foolishness. I mean, we have a pool that I'm saying foolishness, not you. I want to be clear, but it's something that is not part of the learning process for Flagler County students. It's not as though we have a swim team that's using the pool and the students get to use the pool throughout the year. It is a deficit. There's money that comes into this school, but it's for the pool rather, but it's not enough. And Flagler County Schools is having to pay the deficit.
Yes, that's correct. So on these topics here, I'm speaking from my district seat too, and not on for the rest of the board members. But the will of the board on that vote was to keep the pool going for another year. My view was that a school does not have any business providing a public amenity, right? Um, that is something typically municipalities do, like the county or the city. But this is a very unique scenario because this was donated to Flagler Schools. I believe it was like 40 years ago. But back then, there weren't a lot of services in the community, and Palm Coast has grown a lot since then. And we have, because it's not just the pool. There's a gym there also. We've got plenty of gyms. We've got Free to Zamba pool. There's other places where people can access these services. And when we're actually absorbing approximately $175,000 annual loss just to keep this place open, I think that was
$75,000 a year.
Yes,
$75,000
that
going
is
to our
what,
students.
that is what our CFO had told us, that's the amount, the deficit that we have to keep that open based on current membership and any other revenues that we have coming in just for that program.
I know the vote didn't go the way you wanted, so I'm gonna leave that right there. Another thing that didn't go the way you had envisioned was the Guardian program. I'm very surprised that the Guardian program was voted down. I mean, school safety is a top priority, right up there with education, right under education. I would say school safety is, other than the education of our students. But the board members didn't feel like that was a top priority. Why do you feel like we needed the Guardian program?
Yeah, that was disappointing for me. We worked very hard on that, and not just our board, but the previous board as well had spent a lot of time on that. And the reason why I feel we needed the Guardian program is that, we are living in some very unique times. We have some crazy people out there that choose soft targets to go after. One thing that I am grateful for, that we do have SRDs, school resource deputies at every school. So our students are protected. I do not feel that our schools are unsafe, but this would have been a force multiplier. And for the public to understand is that in order to become a guardian, one, you have to be selected by the school district to participate. Then you have to go to the sheriff, have a background check, a psychological evaluation, and approximately 144 hours of training with the sheriff. The same people that are training our sheriff deputies would be training these guardians.
Okay, so this isn't just a go grab a gun, go to the school, you're a guardian. This is an intensive program that involves training, psychological evaluations, and background checks.
That's correct. So, and this is nothing new. Over 40 counties have a guardian program in some way, shape, or form, because there's some different versions of it. But this one would involve arming faculty, and they would be ununiformed. So, and that was an important part of this, because it's the element of the unknown that deters these type of things, because that assailant, if they chose a school to go into, they don't know who that person is. And that person can only engage in a scenario such as that.
This is something I don't know. I mean, now that the state of Florida has the concealed carry law, are teachers allowed to carry on school grounds, or is that
It's my understanding that they are not.
is it the government
I'm not
type?
100% on that law, but
Right.
it's my understanding that they are not. And but the Guardian program would permit that those people that have gone through this special training to be that force multiplier, because our SRDs are amazing, right? But our campuses are very large, and they can't be everywhere at once.
It's like a small city by itself. All right, well, we've got to take another break. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay. How much time do I have? 3 to 4. Okay. All right. You ready? Want to give a thank you and a shout out to Steve Verrier, thefloridamortgagecenter.com, and to Church on the Rock. Thank you for sponsoring Today with Pastor Jay. You know, I gotta tell you, there's been some tension, if you didn't know it, on that school board. I mean, you could see the rolling of the eyes and people sucking their teeth, but you've been cool. I mean, Will, you just was cool. But sometimes it gets a little tension. Is it just me seeing it? Or are you up there feeling like you got to fight off some people?
Well, it's not so much fighting off. It's standing for what your values are, for what your vision is on that particular agenda item. I'm not a person that goes along to get along. And sometimes we agree, and sometimes I can compromise, but there's sometimes that I'm not going to compromise it because I believe firmly in that direction. Overall, though, sometimes we can all be passionate, right? But there's nothing personal about it, right? But it is, in order to get anything done, you need 3 votes, right? So if you can't convince the other 2 people to go along with you, then your idea may not move forward at that moment, right? But you have to accept that. You have to accept the fact that there's a reason why we have elections. There's a reason why the electorate puts in 5 people that they feel support the values and the direction that they want. And I respect the process. And it doesn't mean that you're not unhappy when things don't go the way you want them, but you have to accept that that's, at the end, is the will of our community.
Speaking of the community, just recently we've lost the director of the Flagler Youth Orchestra. She resigned. And I want to say kudos to the Flagler County School Board, because you're not going to allow this to hinder the program. I know you guys are looking forward to keeping the program. So just keep me abreast and let me know what's going to happen. When it's going to happen, or how it's going to happen. So what's the consensus of the board in that?
Well, the consensus has always been to keep the program going. There was never any talk about ending the program. We were just seeking some truth and transparency in the way that it operates. But it's unfortunate that the director abruptly resigned. But keep in mind, we are a large organization. We have many programs. We have people that come and go, and we replace them, and we keep the program going. I mean, the school's been around for a long time. You have coaches that leave football teams. We still have football games, right? So it may give it may look a little different. It may be a little different. It may be a little bit bumpy while in the transition, but we're going to get there. And we already have staff working on a job description for this, because the previous director was actually an independent contractor. They were not employees of the school. So this will just be a little bit different. But in the end, I think it will actually, we're looking to make it even better, right? So we'll keep you posted on that one.
Well, I appreciate it. And thank you so very much for your service to the community, and just for being a voice of transparency. So if you don't know Will Furry, get to know Will Furry. He or his wife, First Lady of District 2. That's what I call her. And she's a sweetheart, and his family's amazing. He's always reachable. What's your email for Flagler Schools?
Yeah, it's FURRYW@flaglerschools.com.
Right, well, thanks again, Will. I appreciate you, and keep me updated on what's new, what's going on. Congratulations on such a successful half a year, I guess you could say already. All right, guys, you know what I say? Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not promised. What are you going to do today? You're going to get involved. School is coming. It's coming. It's coming back around again. The kids are going to go back to school. Get involved. Get to know who your school board members are, and make sure that your voices and concerns are heard. God bless you. Have a great day. Great job, Will. As always, we're still live, though,
Okay,
but great job.
Thanks for having me on, Pastor Jay.
No, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day. We'll chat later.
All right.
All right. All right.